I got a verbal one from Sandy.
All right, I'll put you on that one then. I got a written report from the Sherman from Dr. Cross. You got planning board?
Finance, ZBA, yeah.
Nancy, there is one thing I forgot to mention. We should have had on this agenda veterans exemption.
I'm going to talk to you. We got situations in that. And I'm going to find out some information. I don't think there's a thing we can do tonight.
Yeah, it should have been on, and I should have mentioned something about
This
this.
is the one that maybe the local law never got filed, so we got to look into. And I'm not sure what we've done is discuss it yet.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay?
All right.
So I didn't forget it. It's just we're not ready to do anything on that.
We've got to get something done so it's done this year. I know that.
Yeah.
Do you want to, I see Boris is here. Do you want to bring up something in regards to this?
I thought you said no. I thought you said not till the next meeting. Not till we'll talk again.
Yeah. Now we got it. All right.
So? I think we can start. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Granby Town Board. It is with considerable regret that I sit in this chair tonight. As most of you know, our supervisor is very seriously ill. And after we stand for the salute to the flag, I would ask for a moment of prayer.
Over here.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I think. I'd like a motion to dispense with the reading of previous meetings.
I'll make the motion to this first reading with the minutes of September the 9th, September the 16th, and September the 30th.
Second to that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I'm sorry, Ruth, I forgot the roll call. Everyone can see who's here.
Deputy Supervisor Hoffman.
Here.
Counselor Anthony. Here. Counselor Greco.
Here.
Counselor Haggerty.
Here.
Counselor Polowitz.
Here.
Highway Superintendent Moyer. Here. And Budget Director Lyman.
Here.
Thank letters, communications, announcements. First of all, a couple of reminders regarding Election Day, because this is the last meeting regular meeting we will have before the election, and that is on November 3rd. Our polling place for this voting District 3, which is the people that used to vote right in this room, is now in the community center, which is next door. We did that for primary day. We had some confusion. There were people coming in and saying, where do I go? So I want to again mention that that has been changed to the community center. It does seem to be working out quite well over there. And also, I think it's very important to mention or to remind everyone that a mandatory referendum will be held. It will be part of that ballot regarding changing to a sole assessor, and I would urge all Granby voters to exercise their vote one way or another on this one. This is an opportunity to do that. Have a letter from Catherine Hubbard from Niagara Mohawk. This letter is dated October. Dear Mr. Keeney, to date I have received all but 7 of the application forms required to approve design and construction of a natural gas main on County Route 8 to reach Bowen's Corners. I am hopeful that your administration will be willing to assist in the effort at hand. Enclosed is a list of the remaining residents on County Route 8 that have not yet applied for natural gas service. I will be contacting them in the near future to see if they would be interested in submitting an application. I respectfully request that your administration be made aware of the task at hand and be asked to contact the residents on behalf of this effort also. Once I receive the required number of application forms, I will issue a directive to proceed with design and construction of this project. If requirements can be satisfied before the end of 1998, it is anticipated that construction of natural gas main on County Route 8 will commence in the spring-summer of 1999. Your interest, support, and assistance is greatly appreciated. And this is Catherine Hubbard, is consumer representative from Niagara Mohawk, who has been working on this project. She also sent brochures, application forms, even return envelopes. So if anyone knows anyone who is interested, or pass the word. We have a letter from the New York State Office of Real Property Services. This is a letter to Sandra Wells with a copy to the supervisor. Dear Ms. Wells, congratulations. You have completed all the requirements of the basic course of training for certification as state certified assessor pursuant to the laws of the state of New York and the state board's rules of real property tax administration. Your certificate is enclosed with a file to be filed with your municipal clerk. And this is, I think, somewhat remarkable because it's really quite record time to have completed all the requirements to become fully certified. And she's done so since January. Okay, I have a letter from Justice Bruce Wells to the Town Board, Town of Granby. I would like to request a change of status from temporary clerk to part-time clerk. This is regarding Charlotte Warren's position for Carrie Truax to allow her a raise in pay. Carrie has been and continues to do an outstanding job for our office. Judge Winkworth and I are in agreement with this request, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Okay, I have a letter from Ray E. Smith, Granby Town Board. Dear Donald Keeney, Supervisor, and members of the Town Board, I would like to continue taking an active part in our town by being reappointed to the Granby Board of Assessment Review. I have had 11 years of experience on the Board of Assessment Review and 2 years as an assessor. I am very proud to to have served our town in that capacity and would appreciate the chance to continue doing my best as a member of the Granby Board of Assessment Review. Sincerely, Ray E. Smith. I had on the agenda a letter from Joyce Forsythe, but we had taken care of that at the last meeting. It was a letter of resignation. Old business. Lynn, I would, where is he?
Way up there.
There he is. I would ask you to bring the board up to date on the status of the road at Snug Hill.
Okay. The engineer sent out the specs, and we only received 2 bids. There's a large discrepancy in the amount of the bids, and I can tell you, he faxed me down a copy of each. One was Hoffman Excavating for $37,400. The other was Johnny Fisher Construction for $75,565. I have a couple of concerns. One of them, we only received 2 bids, so that is a problem in itself. The other is discrepancy between the amount of the bids and looking over the different items as they were bid. It appears that all the bidders weren't clear on what they were bidding on. So I would recommend that the board reject these bids at this time and probably look at rebidding it in the spring. That would be my recommendation.
Thank you.
Lynn, what happens to the road in the meantime?
Well, it's still a town road, so we'll have to maintain it.
And you're going to be needing some resurfacing in that area, aren't you?
Well,
There's going to have to be some road work done. And do you have the time?
yeah, we're gonna try and do some minor work up there, some patching work and that type of thing to get us through until spring. It's
How about
really
the
too
date?
late in the season now to do any kind of construction anyway. And I wouldn't even want to hazard to try and put a top on it now. It's just, the ground's too cold. You don't get enough warm weather. So I think we'd be throwing our money away.
Bob, me and Lynn talked about it, and also that road, he was going to do what he just said, and Joe Latino plowed it with just a 4-wheel drive pickup, and Lynn was hoping to do the same thing until it at least froze over before he put a big truck on, right, Lynn? Yeah. So, this'll...
Well, in regards to the bids that you received, has CNS reviewed those bids, and have they made any comments why the difference is so great between what they estimated that job to be done versus that $75,000 bid?
Well, his comment was that he thought it might have been late in the season, that some people expressed concern that it was too late for them to bid on it. They were already committed for the rest of the construction season. And he had another comment too, and it kind of slipped my mind right now what he did say. But no, I haven't talked to him since he's faxed me up the copies, because he received the bids, he sent them out, received them, he opened them, and then he faxed me down a copy, and I haven't spoken with him since I've looked over the specific items to see the discrepancies in them. That's a concern I will raise with him.
One of the bases of not accepting that road was based upon their original estimates on repairing that road. And, we're talking $30,000 to fix it. That's what we got from the Snug Harbor people. But if we're talking $60,000, $70,000 now to repair that thing, the town is going to be in a nice little hole here. So I would think that CNS would have to come back with something to tell us, or tell you, what's going wrong with the bidding.
Yeah, and primarily what he said was he thought maybe it was just too late in the season, that they were padding their bids in the hopes that they, if they got it, they're going to make some money, but they really didn't want the work, type of a thing was what his opinion was.
Would you like the board to take a formal motion rejecting the bids?
Yes.
I'll make a motion, we reject the bids at this time.
I'll second it.
Ruth, would you like to take the vote on that?
Okay. Counselor Anthony?
Yes.
Counselor Greco?
Yes?
Counselor Haggerty?
Yes.
Counselor Polowitz?
Hey,
Vince, I would ask you at this time to bring us up to date on the vacancy for the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Okay. Let's get this minutes out too. As we all know, due to the untimely accident of Warren Shestak, we had an opening on the Board of Appeals. Back at our work session on September the 13th, I made a motion to appoint Kim O'Brien, temporary chairman, to the Zoning Board of Appeals to the end of the year. And that motion was seconded by Council. I made the motion, seconded by Councilor Haggerty. So we have, at the present time, we have Kim O'Brien is going to be the chairman to the ZBA, and we advertised, as people know, for the opening, and we had 3 very qualified professional people put their name in. The board discussed it at length, and I'm going to make a motion to appoint Leo Korneski to the ZBA board.
I'll second that one.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
aye.
Okay, Bob, the part-time clerk in the assessor's office.
Yeah, there was a number of applications that applied for this position, and they're all good ones. And there was quite a bit of interviewing that was done by code enforcement people and the assessors and some of the town board members. And after painful selection here, we've come up with a selection of Katharina Seymour, and I would certainly like to place her name as a motion to accept her as the position of assessor clerk, or clerk to the Office of Assessors and Code Enforcement.
I'll second that for you, Bob.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Has anybody seen any paperwork on this girl?
Yeah.
She sent her application,
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is,
and she was interviewed.
Was she?
Yeah.
if you remember, he broke down a list, and she was one of the, I had 7 names, she was one of the top, she was number 2 I had picked.
And then at our last meeting, they said they weren't happy that they were gonna go over some other names.
They gave that some additional thought, I believe, and came to the conclusion that she would be the best candidate after looking at the other applicants.
Okay. What's,
I'll give her application to you afterwards, Rosie.
Seymour?
Seymour, yes. Katharina.
Katrina, was it the first name?
Yes.
Katrina Seymour.
okay.
Any other discussion? All in favor of this motion?
Aye.
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 Opposed? So. Okay. Bob, we want to take some action tonight regarding the Office of Youth Director.
I'd like to get some advertisement in the paper for that position so that we can have somebody in place for the first part of the year.
I think we should do like we did before with the advertisement for the ZBA. They just advertise it for 1 week. We did it 2 weeks, but maybe 1 week might be enough in the employment page.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 times and see what kind of response we get.
Yeah, I'm in favor of that.
Okay.
We've had a number of people that I've talked indirectly with, but I think the proper way would be to run an ad.
Okay.
and I'd say as soon as possible.
Well, she can get it so, you can get it down and have it out this Monday, right, Ruth? Is that how it works? Yeah, have it Monday and Thursday of next week's paper?
Do you want to do that?
Yeah,
Do you want to make a motion?
You need a motion on that?
to run an ad?
I'll make the motion we advertise.
No,
The Valley News in the appointment section for Monday and Thursday of next week.
I'll second it.
Any other discussion about that? Ruth, do you need any additional information to go into the ad? We don't really have to specify
Do
salary.
do you want to have a cutoff date? When do you want a cutoff date?
What did I say? So, yeah, I said, actually, well, I don't know, the 21st, Wednesday, is that, gives them a couple extra?
It won't come out until Monday.
It's gonna come out on Monday, and then I'd say cutoff date would be October 21st.
That doesn't give,
Monday's
that only
19th.
gives 2 days.
Yeah, you won't get that in.
28th.
We won't get that in
We
next
only
week.
have it in the 19th and the 22nd.
You can't get it in next week, you said, Roy?
Yes, but that's the 19th and the 22nd.
Oh, okay, I'm looking at the calendar right here. Yeah, so we should have a cutoff date of when?
How about November 10th?
Just before the board meeting.
Yeah. And that'd be just before the next November board meeting, and yeah, make
Okay.
some comments there.
You're gonna have you got a little ad, you just, what you expect, or break it down, or?
Yeah, I'll get together with Ruth in regards to the information that'll be needed for the ad.
All right.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now, I read a little while ago, read a letter from Judge Wells regarding their clerk. The background on that is that she was hired way back last winter on a temporary basis to fill in for Charlotte Warren. Charlotte has since resigned, and Carrie is still working on a temporary basis.
She was hired in 97, I think, yeah.
Yeah. So they would like her to be made the regular
Great.
part-time clerk with the appropriate salary, which is
Well, that's next year. This year she's
$7
still-
$7 per hour.
Just a little.
I'll make a resolution to change the status of the clerk in the justice office from temporary to regular part-time, and that would be at a rate of $7 per hour.
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
She's gonna go to 7.
That was the amount that apparently you discussed in budget negotiations last year for the other clerk.
What did we put in the new budget?
We haven't really finalized that, I don't think 100%. I think we're like 750, 50 cents. Because we're paying them by the hour rather than by the salary now.
Any other discussion? All in favor of this motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Should be a roll call being a resolution.
We can do a roll call.
Counselor Anthony? Counselor Greco?
Aye.
Counselor Haggerty?
Aye.
Counselor Polowitz?
Aye.
Carried. What is your pleasure on the assessment board review? That position was vacated on
End of September.
the end of September.
Mr. Mark, can I ask a question? Was this advertised?
Was it advertised? No.
Has it been in the past? Is it usually?
You have to advertise.
We have to advertise? We did in the past.
It's in your code. You got your.
Yes, we
your
did.
employees.
We didn't advertise when Mr. Boland's position ran out.
Who?
Mr. Boland's position ran out, we didn't advertise.
Well, maybe we'd better put this aside.
We didn't advertise when Mr. Boland's position ran out.
I'm not saying that you do it right. I'm just saying you're supposed to advertise it.
When Jim was sitting right there, we didn't advertise it then.
Do you want us to look into this more, the board I'm speaking to?
I think we better.
Sure.
All right, we'll table that one.
And then you want to set up for advertising or not?
Well, let's look and see if we have to advertise.
Okay.
For
assume that we can wait on that.
The other guy that we appointed last year, he's on the assessment board.
Okay, we must have a budget hearing by the Thursday after Election Day, and I am recommending Wednesday, November 4th, only because I know that that's a better date for you.
Yep.
And probably won't have it done much before that. Fourth. Yeah. Optimist.
Budget hearing November 4th.
So what is that satisfactory?
Fine.
7 o'clock?
7 o'clock, fine.
7?
I don't think we need a motion on that, do we?
No.
Okay, we recently received from New York State some money related to the STAR program, the school tax exemption program. The total amount received was $9,008.85. The state at that time indicated there's two parts to this. Most of it goes for, what did they call it here? Exemption processing. That would be the work of handling all these exemption forms and so forth. The rest of it, a smaller amount, goes for bill preparation and receipt, and they have specified how they broke this down, and it's $8,070 for the exemption processing and $938.85 for bill preparation and receipt. And that's based on a X number of parcels at 33 cents per parcel for the mailing cost.
You're saying cost, I think you got it written down as assessor personnel services, is that it? On your
Yes, this one is based on the number. Yes, but this is the recommended scale. That how we, but
All right.
the point is, for bookkeeping purposes, we have to appropriate that money to the appropriate account before we can spend it. Could I have a motion?
A resolution in this case?
Resolution.
I'll make a resolution, so stated. Okay?
I'll second that.
That would be account number 1355.1A, the assessor personal services for the $8,070, and the balance goes to central printing and mailing, which is account number 1670.4A. Is there any discussion on that? Ruth, would you call the roll on that one?
Counselor Anthony?
Yeah.
Counselor Greco?
Aye.
Counselor Hagerty?
Aye.
Counselor Palowitz?
Aye.
Thank you. We also had to move some money around in the highway account. Would someone like to make this?
Okay, I'll make a resolution. We transfer to $7,882.14 from highway account number 5110-.4.4 DA, and from general repair contractual to the account number 5110.-DA, general repair personal services.
She's moving from contractual to personal services to cover payrolls. A second on that?
I'll second that.
All right, any discussion? Did you have anything to add on that one? That's routine. Ruth, do you want to call?
Counselor Anthony?
Yes.
Counselor Greco?
Yes.
Counselor Hagerty?
Yes.
Counselor Palowitz?
Aye.
We have one county legislator with us. Would you like to enlighten us?
Thank you. I think our other county legislator, I'm sure wanted to be here, but he's chairman of 2 committees, plus having 4 committees in leadership, so it's always been a little bit under the weather. Last week I was talking to him, he's got the flu, and dragging around a little bit. I also would like to take this opportunity to the board and to our deputy supervisor that if there's anything I personally can do while Don is out or the county, please feel free to ask whatever it is, except money. That's about the only thing I can ask you at this point. But if anything I can do or anything, certainly feel free to follow up on it. Tomorrow at 2 o'clock, we're having a meeting, and the farm preservation program will be at that public hearing tomorrow at 2 o'clock. For people here, it's basically a farm preservation plan that's been drawn up by numerous hearings we've had, and is trying to put it in place for the county of Oswego. This means farms, the preservation of farms, as well as the funding for projects for farm retention of programs and stuff like that is being put in place. So if anybody here wants anything about farm preservation tomorrow at 2 o'clock, there's a public hearing. Some of you I know have been at the various meetings they've had and so on, but we're putting it in place hopefully tomorrow. We had our delinquent property tax sales. It was 210 parcels that were sold. We brought in approximately $662,000 from the sale of these parcels here in the county. In the town of Granby, 9 parcels were on the auction block. 2 of these parcels we were able to return to the original owners. In other words, not at the auction, but just prior to the sales, they came in and paid for them. So 7 were sold to other people. I might add probably, I think all 7 of these lots were vacant land. I personally had to exempt 3 parcels, and to let you understand what a legislator does, you're approached by the parties who have a home or something of this nature, and they need some time to pay their taxes. As a legislator, I had the option of pulling that property from the auction and giving these people an opportunity to pay their tax bill for the next year. Of that, I did 3 parcels this year that were people like, for example, young families, people with families, homes, to give them an opportunity to try to pay their taxes in this coming year. So we try to work out plans for them, a system, see what we can do to help them get their taxes paid, to keep them out of the auction. We also, at this time, we're working on the county budget. It looks like through all the processes, as you people are going through, we're hoping to get either a 0 budget or hopefully 1% below that figure this year. We're working in committees. It looks like we can do that a little better, but it looks like we're shooting for this time for hopefully a 1% reduction. Working on a number of projects. I'm personally involved, of course, with industrial development and a number of these things as chairman of the Economic Development Committee, but one of the projects has been the airport landing system, which we passed here recently and got $2 million worth of funding from the federal government. It's the only landing system that's been approved in 2 years for a regional airport of its size throughout the United States. So we were very lucky to get that dollars. See, it's approximately $190,000 $1.9 to come from the federal government, and the 10%, which we would normally have to pay, has come from the state. So no tax dollars will be involved in this whole project. In addition to that, we're trying to get water and sewer out the airport to enhance the industrial development out there as well as the airport. And I've been working with Volley and the city of Fulton to get that project started. A lot of good things coming. We're waiting for CNS to do some final adjustments, and hopefully that project will go down the line. We also tomorrow will be doing resolutions for, if you're all familiar with the railroad tracks, used to go back to the legislative building. There was a tunnel. And as a county, we had the option to pay so many dollars to plug it up, if we could plug it up. And the figure turned out to be we'd have to take tax dollars to plug that tunnel up, because you couldn't just do it naturally, just plug it. You had it was so expensive. It was cheaper for us to develop a plan and got funds, and for, I guess it was about 90% funding for grants. We are now developing a walkway and bikeway that goes through the tunnel and to the fort for the city of Oswego. So that project tomorrow will be an environmental study is going to be done on that, and also the environmental study for Sandy Island Beach. You heard probably the paper where we acquired Sandy Island Beach up there for development of a county park. So we're working in that, and that's part of the resolution tomorrow for environmental studies. In addition to that, there's numerous other things going on, but in general, everything's going along good, despite what you read in the papers. Is there anybody here have a question? Anything I can help you with? If not, Sam?
Where's the meeting tomorrow?
At the legislative building, 4th floor, 2 o'clock.
And who's going to pay for the storm water to the airport?
Who? Well, it's numerous development funds, industrial development, whatever. We're looking at that type of stuff, of course, naturally. But you gotta get the people volleying, and it's gotta be in accordance with that. Get the sewer districts and the water districts developed.
You say taxpayer.
Well, there have to be taxpayer dollars, like any project, there's a certain amount, but we'd like to get as much as we can from anybody else. Industrial development funds are available. See, the airport's just one, we have an industrial park on the other side of the airport, and we're gonna get that developed too, with sewer and water, which should be part of the same plan that feeds the airport. Now, there's numerous plans. We have a school possibly going into the airport. We have all the people on that property, the Niagara Mohawk people on the back side of the airport, really been ready to pull out of there. We need water, because the water's unfit to drink at the airport. Right now, there's no wells or anything else they can use water from. They bring in bottled water.
I have to question that when they were talking about putting city wells out there years ago, 20 years ago, when I bought in that neighborhood, they were looking at using that for water resources for the city of Oak.
At the airport.
And now you're saying the quality?
Quality is not a standards that we could say public water use. You can flush toilets and use it for that kind of stuff, nothing to drink. I'm not saying anybody's going to die if they drink it, but it's not the best tasting stuff from what they tell me.
You might tell him why.
I don't think it's from the landfill necessarily, but it's a poor situation all the way around for water. And the people coming up from Gillespie Drive.
Nothing to do with the landfill.
I can't swear to that, Ralph. It's part of it, probably on this maybe on the north side, just from the standard environmental issues. But that hasn't been proven in this case. It's just the water quality is not good there. I mean, they had wells for years there, but it's a sulfur well, numerous problems. But anyways, the whole area from there to the city limits has got water problems. They're petitioning for water uses and want the water line, so we're trying to work with Volley and see what we can do there.
For a temporary, I have a good well out there. It's 38 gallons a minute.
How close is this property?
Just a little north of where you're talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, just on the Raleigh Road back in here. And it was all tested out for the rain pump. 68 hours worth of pump test done. There's a ton of water over there.
Yeah, well, like I said, I'm not familiar with exactly.
I can't understand why.
Well, these are projects, there's numerous things going on.
And I have the nice property in the area. You can put the water tower on, so you have water pressure back feeding the folk, and you gave them the water.
Oh, yeah?
I thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I have a written report from the dog control officer for September 1998. 44 complaints, number of dogs picked up 11, number of dogs destroyed 1, number of dogs released 12, number of dogs on hand 2. We have expenses of $38.76, $55 and $125 for the month, 626 miles. We collected impoundment fees of $10 and adoption fees of $55. That's from Gail Keelan.
I'd just like to make a mention that I was up to their place here a few weeks ago, and they're doing an excellent job. Their pens are clean, their dogs are well fed, and the town of Granby, I guess, real fortunate to have them as our control officers.
That's nice to hear. I'm glad to hear that. And I believe that most of the dogs are put up for adoption, and
Yes.
they do find homes for them, so that's nice. That's nice to hear. I also have a report from the historian. I'll read that while I'm reading. This is from Elaine Woolridge, our records keeper historian. Summer has come to an end and our inventory grant has ended. We are now moving on to the inactive records grant. These are the SARA grants. We attended a SARA meeting. This is a grant from the state at the end of September, which gave us direction to get started on this process. In October, I attended an Association of Municipal Historians of New York State meeting. This was held in Interlaken at the Historical Society, which was housed in the library. I had great conversation with other historians in the area. We discussed the breaking up of our region number 6. The state of New York decided to revamp the area. Oswego County will now meet with Jefferson and Lewis. I was getting used to the faces in the old region, but it will be nice to make some new friends. I have had a few requests regarding family name searches and have aided these people to the best of my ability. I will continue to answer their requests in a timely manner. Sincerely, Elaine Woolridge. Okay. Bob, do you have a report from assessors?
I talked to Sandy Wells last night, just a couple of items. One, Bill Jones and Paul Darby, the two part-time assessors that came on to help him, are doing a good job. Bill is out there doing a lot of data collecting. Paul is working on some of the costing and data collecting also. They've pretty much caught up with the 98 building permits, and now they're backtracking into the 97s. They're based upon the town's approval of the clerk that we passed tonight. Sandy's planning on a meeting Saturday with the code enforcement people, the assessors, and her to discuss the operations of that office. But it appears to be working out very good.
Planning board, do we have a report? Vince?
Oh, yeah, I can give it now instead of with the liaison.
Well, I have it up there.
Well, okay, the planning board's been very active the last month or so, because they're pretty active anyways. Number one, the Campolito subdivision, which is not really a subdivision, I understand it was a family deal that they broke up the house lots for the use of their children, family children. The telecom tower, they approved that on 10/6/98. The Indian Hill Mobile Home Park, Mr. Lapina has put a lot of money into it. He spent, I guess, about $200,000, and he's also setting up an excellent sales office. Also, to go on about the planning board, we have 5 members of our planning board attending courses at Syracuse University, which I understand is about one night a week, anywhere from 3 hours up to 4 hours, and that goes on for 8 weeks. I think everybody on the board, everybody in town should be very pleased with the effort that the people from the planning board put into doing this job.
Great.
And I already mentioned about the temporary appointment on the ZBA of Kim O'Brien. And the ZBA board, of course, does have a meeting October the 27th at 7 o'clock to discuss some variances and a couple of problems they've had.
Lyle, did you have anything to add to the planning board? Anything else on the ZBA?
No.
Chris, anything on the ZBA or? Okay. Highway superintendent?
Give you a rundown for September, some of the things that we were involved in. We did 9 driveway installations and repairs, continued mowing, swept roads where we had problems with loose stone, continued our ditching and patching any holes that developed. We moved the voting machines from Cody back and forth for the primary. We'll do that again for the general election. We had some gravel stockpiled up to Stony Robbie, our gravel bed. We hauled that back to the garage. Cut some brush and trees on Stony Robbie and Old State roads. Picked up a dead dog. We ground stumps where we cut the trees. We installed a catch basin on 11th Street. install a cross culvert on Hanley and Finney Road, replaced the missing stop sign on Liebolt Road, and we began hauling our sand for winter use, which we've just completed doing that. And some of the administrative things I got involved in, I mailed the renewal for the town's mining permit on Stony Robbie Road, which had expired. Mailed the snow and ice agreement to Oswego County. Completed the 1998 highway inventory and gave that to the town clerk as required. And I mailed our CHIPS report for the year to New York State so we can receive our funds, reimbursement from the state for that. So,
Good.
any questions?
Questions? Or-
Bob, you always have a question.
Doing a good job, Lynn.
Great, thank you. Budget officer?
I'll give you your staff report, Lynn. Okay, this is statement of balances as of the end of September. Town is just, we're coming down fine. I have no major hiccups to discuss. Where I have, again, in a contractual, I'll just mention to the board, the justice contractual is down to $963. I believe Nancy's discussed it with Mr. Winkworth. Hopefully between the other two accounts, they'll be able to get through the rest of the year. The rest of the contractuals for general are fine. And page 2 in the middle, I've added the $2,811 that was requested to complete the fire code inspection for this year. I'm assuming that all of those funds will be expended in 1998. Let's see. Bull inspector, I've added the monies we've increased their contractual, and under tourism, I've added $200 there, and the zoning officer, we added $700 this year to cover their contractual expense. Have we gotten all our bills in for the cemetery mowing?
I don't think so.
I don't,
Has he
we
just-
had a bill at the last abstract.
I know, there's over $1,000 left over. It's just, I thought there might be another bill.
It seems like we've only had about 2 bills from them, and I don't, I'll have to look and see what,
Yeah, this for what I call Sarah Grant 1, which was a Sarah Grant for records room that Elaine did. That basically is closed out. All those funds were expended, and the town has settled up with the state as to what they owed us. We're now on what I call Sarah Grant 2, and we received those funds, and I have the breakdown for salary, the equipment, and benefits for that. So that sits there. And that will carry over from 98 into 99. So that's all I have as far as general is concerned. On highway, on page 4, again, we transferred some money tonight from general repairs, which basically will bring that personal services account down to 0, and there's still some money left over in contractual. I've added in the $30,250 for Snug Harbor, but again, based on the bids we received, there's a good chance that we won't spend too much of that. So that will be part of the 99 budget. I've already got that factored in. Down in hospital medical for highway, we are probably going to have an overrun, but Nancy and I will work on that and give the town board a motion to transfer the coverage when that balance goes to 0. The sewer, I've added in the $5,000 ban that the town took to get the sewer district bills paid this year, plus there was a $920 addition to the appropriation for last year, so that shows up down there under sewer north. Capital projects basic is at 0. Hamel Street, Pleasant Street sewer, all of that money has been paid. So if somebody has a
question on those. That's all I have for the balance sheets. The town board is working on the 99 budget. We have somewhere around 85 separate accounts to go through, and it's just a matter of us sitting down and agreeing on the numbers. And we've established public hearing on November the 4th. And those, when we finish, those are the numbers that we are working on now that we will present at the public hearing for the 99 budget.
Thank you. And code enforcement, Bob, did you have?
I got to report.
You've got a report, good. Chris Shatra, our zoning officer.
Okay, the code enforcement report for September 1998. We had 15 permits issued in the month of September, which consisted of 3 new mobile homes, 2 mobile home replacements, 2 modular homes, 1 deck, 1 pool, 2 additions, 3 garages, and 1 roof replacement. Total permit fees collected for the month of September were $1,025. Year to date, we have $5,618.50. Cost of construction for the month of September is $445,113.36. Year to date is $2,182,662.46. I have a note from Mr. Talents. It says as of October 8th, his regular office hours on Thursdays is going to be dedicated mostly to catching up on some inspections he has to get done. He says he'll continue to check his answer machine, make special arrangements as necessary, and should be able to resume regular schedule by the end of November. That's basically it. Any questions? Or?
He's still going to be in the office on Tuesday evening, so yeah.
Yes. Yes.
That $2,000,001 is just the estimate that was given on the permits. The values could be much higher when the
On the
assessors.
construction itself, correct. Which is quite a bit.
It's good.
Yes. According to Mr. Talents, it's a lot more than what the city of Fulton does. So considerable more anyway, so. Okay.
Very good, thank you. Anything to add to that, Bob?
No.
Okay. Okay, Rose, do you have a report?
You say you've got $1,000 left over from the cemetery? I mean, is that going to be spent out when you just asked him?
Only if he bills, we'll have to see if he's given us all the bills yet, I don't know.
You know, I've got a thing about the cemetery. Well, putting the flags out for the cemetery, the cemetery up here in Lewis Corners was pathetic. So I asked, and we said we didn't have no money in the budget except for mowing. Fine, so we got volunteers. If you notice the Granby, Mr. Best, have you noticed the Granby cemetery up here? Mr. Best, it's all cleared and the fence is all painted out as you go by the cemetery.
You want to make a report on it?
No, have you noticed it?
Obviously, I've seen it, but I want to make a report on it.
No,
She just asked if you had
All right.
noticed it.
Well,
Yes, the wrong person.
sorry, but I got volunteers to do this. Mr. and Mrs. John Parker and Mr. and Mrs. Ron Pryor brought their pickup trucks up here, and they cleaned all the brush and they painted the fence. They volunteered to do it, and I really appreciate it, and I think the town should appreciate it. And over on Lewis Corners, that is a pathetic cemetery. So I have to thank Mr. Sarbello here to bring his farm workers up there that trimmed the inside of the cemetery. And we're getting a sign for there, and hopefully this board will put money in the budget to do something, you know, for a fence, because the trees down there smashed all the fence down the Lewis Corners. And Mr. Sarbello and his workers are going to try to stretch this old fence out, but next year hopefully we can do something.
I'm already looking into that, Ross.
Well, fine, I want the people to know.
Okay.
We already know it, the people
No,
don't
I
know
mean, I
it.
just talked to somebody about a week ago. I'm going to get them up and get some quotes on it, see what they're going to find.
Thanks, Vince.
Oh,
At least I'd like to Mr. Sorbello and Mr. and Mrs. Parker and Ron Pryor for volunteering to do this.
County of Oswego took down the trees, though, I can tell you
And
that.
thank you. And you're going to get a new cemetery sign up there, which is great, great.
County Highway's gonna put one in.
It's great. It's great.
When that place up, those trees are monsters. They were here for 2 days.
And Lynn's got it on his schedule, our own highway department's supposed to get up in there and get all the smaller branches and stuff that's up in there and put them in the wood chipper.
We threw them out there and he ground them up.
Well, he's got more to do, he knows, but he's got it on his list.
It's they're 1,800 cemeteries, but they're historics, and they shouldn't get as bad as they are. We should keep them up halfway decent. That's all I got.
I think that's very, very good news, and I do recall that in the spring there were a number of people who were somewhat irate about the condition of that loose cemetery
Oh,
in particular.
it was so bad.
So you've done a good job.
We did. I even went out and painted up there, but it's not where we want it yet. But next year, I hope we can do something better.
Great.
From what the historian says, the Lewis Cemetery is the only cemetery in Oswego County that has 3 stone walls around it, and we should keep it up. We shouldn't let it go bad. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Anything else?
No, I have nothing else. No.
Bob, Mr. President?
The youth program, I just want to mention that we'll be starting October 25th. There will be an ad in the Valley News on the 19th and on the 22nd in regards to the fall program, which will be skating at the Bailu roller rink. That'll be starting up here. I want to just give a thank you for the summer program to Thunder Island and Harry Peru, who gave us some good cut rates on the children going there, which was very good. And also to thank Wally Haskell at the Golden Sun bus line, who we had good clean buses and some good drivers, and which made the trips just that much more comfortable. And that's the extent of it.
Very good. Thank you. Could I have a resolution regarding town bills?
I'll make a resolution to pay the listed abstracts of 10A-98 in the amount of $19,601.27.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Now, I arbitrarily set some dates, and you can change these if you wish, but we will have to have a couple more budget meetings, I expect. We probably will stay a while yet tonight and work for a while tonight. And we also have to have a meeting with the highway personnel sometime in the near future, so.
So you got the highway down for,
I put down the 21st because
I'm away on the.
you're away for a couple of days. That would be next Wednesday for the highway, if that's possible.
It's okay with me.
We'll have to get the okay with the guys on that. And probably,
7 o'clock on all of these meetings.
oh, I would think so.
Yeah, except for the regular one.
You let us know, Nancy.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
But I think it's probably likely, unless there's some reason that they cannot join us that night for the negotiations. Even then, I think we would have a budget meeting
All right.
to talk about
How about
budget.
if should we schedule something for the 26th of October and the 28th? Just make sure we get. Are those the nights that are good for you, Monday and Wednesdays? Is that what they are, Rick?
Yeah.
Do you want to?
Well, at least I can put them down on a calendar. I'll have them open. So we got 10/21, and we'll go with what? 10/26 and 10/28?
It might be a good idea because we may need additional, no, Monday and Wednesday of that week.
10/21
Okay.
is the first one. Then the next one will be 10/26. And then the next one after that will be 10/28. These are all budget, all between the highway and budget, whichever is good for. Because you got to get it all done before before the 11th, and before the 4th. And we'll have to squeak another one in there somewhere.
The following Wednesday will be the public hearing, and we could also use that night as our work session night, or
It's all seven-
preparatory meeting.
All 7 o'clock?
Yeah, all 7.
Yeah, except for the regular meeting, which will be November 11th at 7:30.
The regular meeting, 7:30. We're all 7. Yeah. No, we got a Monday.
Oh, yeah. 26.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's Saturday night pictures available on, it's Monday and Wednesdays, right, Rick? So,
Okay.
so that's good with everybody, Bob? Yeah, that was
Yep,
Everybody?
that's good.
We're going to be getting together a lot. At this time, I would open the meeting to the, Jim?
4 minutes.
Evening, and I'm very sorry to hear the supervisor's having the circumstance he has. I know the kind of tragedy goes with them kind of things that happen. I have just a couple questions I'd like to take and have answered for me. One was, I left a handwritten note last month inquiring about the resignation of the assessor on April 27th, and I asked to be responded to on it, and I haven't heard anything on it. I'm not after the person who was the assessor like that. I'm just after the fact that there's some procedure supposed to be followed, and it hasn't been followed, and I'd like to know the results of it. It hadn't been followed as far as I know, and the clerk has identified the fact that it hadn't been followed, so I'd like to have that done. If you need another copy of it, I got my pocket.
I can respond to that tonight.
Okay. I know you're having a sole assessor vote on the election day. I just was wondering if anybody had advised the citizens out there that the drop in the equalization rate in 1998 had something to do with the tax increase for the Fulton School District, and you're going to have that kind of thing happen for 1999, even if you have got your assessors up in line if they're elected. I'm just concerned about that because we've been working with the 3 assessors all these years, and at times it's successful and other times it gets dropped back, and where the pinch comes is when the county has their tax rate come through, or the school district has their tax rate come through, and the equalization rate drops in the town of Granby, and the proportionate dollars are picked up by us. And you had that effect in the Fulton School District just recently. So I am concerned about the cost, because it costs you $30, $40 per thousand, or I shouldn't say $30, $40 a thousand, but $30, $40 per parcel if you got a $60,000 property and you own a couple of them. It costs you more money you should have to pay to maintain your tax rate. The other thing I would like to take and bring up is before the 1st of 1998, the town board, the members that are sitting there now and the ones that were acting at the time, passed the personnel policy information, which includes the information on the deadlines for resignations and appointment process, and it's your policy. And all I'm saying is you got to follow that because that's what you're subject to. And if you want to change it, do so. But at least you got it. And I'm sort of unhappy that we went through all that work the last month to get it ready. For over a year we had it in there. A lot of discussion whether you spend the money for it. We invested $2,000. It should be used. Other than that, I haven't had an opportunity to take and stop by and ask you who did the cemetery roads. I did notice it being done, and it is great to realize that you have some money left in your budget that you don't want to take and turn into next year. You can use it for something on the cemetery, no doubt, if your board so agrees.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Jim, you asked for a response to the written questions that you submitted at the last meeting. I talked to the town attorney because I knew that Mr. Keeney had discussed it with him, but I did not know what the result was. He indicated to me that if there was an error made, there was nothing, absolutely nothing that the board can do about it at this point. So that ends the matter as far as I'm concerned.
Well, you're right. If you give me the answer.
That is the answer.
That's the answer. Okay, if I had that a week or a month ago or something like that, maybe even time enough to start an Article 78 proceeding because of the procedure. That's why I was trying to get the information for it.
Well, as you know, it is right in this book, and I'm sure you're very familiar with this book. It indicates that when you hit a board member with a question at a meeting, they do not have to immediately respond. They can go back and talk to the attorney or whatever.
Certainly,
And that's what he did.
My letter says that. I just all wanted the information.
Right. Well, that's the answer.
I'm not denying that. No, I know that.
Okay. Sam?
Is this open floor?
Yes, it is.
I'm sorry, I didn't read it.
I was really excited for a little bit here. I was going to congratulate you folks when Mr. Polowitz says they've gotten all the taxes caught up and everything. No, I thought you said they were all.
No,
1998s are caught up.
98.
building permits, they're working with them, and they're pretty much caught up. They don't go into the system yet, but the work has been done on it.
Now I'm going to get even more depressed after Mr. Best tells me it's costing another $35 per parcel. And was it too expensive to do a whole revale in Granby, or is it getting too expensive not to? I watched the meeting tape here. I was out of town. I thought we were going for a full assessor, and they were talking $25,000 and an assistant, 7 to 10. The last meeting I seen over there, the word was said $30,000 and $15,000 for assessment. That's $45,000 a year. That's, well, basically we can hire 4 groups of people like we have right now.
I think it's unfortunate. Apparently some rumors are being spread.
No, it's on the videotape. With the meeting.
Numbers are thrown out, but...
Yeah, but you see what I mean, Nancy? They keep growing, and then everybody says, if you're hiring somebody, why they gotta have a 6-year appointment? Well, why? If you're hiring, if you do a good job, you stay here. You do a bad job, you're fired. And to get a 6-year appointment doesn't make sense. And now we got 2 secretaries. One with the taxes and code enforcement, and now another one for taxes.
What?
Yeah, you didn't... were you here for when the people had the open meeting on the sole assessor? Review that tape tonight, please. Please do that. And I only call sections. I was visiting a friend's house doing some business at the time.
There may have been a misunderstanding. There is one clerk being hired part-time, 3 hours a day for the assessors and the code enforcement.
Yeah, and then the rumor mill is it's already Mrs. Wells. Why are we going through...
Well, that is precisely rumor mill. I don't think we should be discussing, who, no decision. No, it's up to the voters to first decide.
Right. I'm bringing this up, and like I said, I was pretty excitable when he said the taxes were caught up, and I said, well, maybe there's no need for all these people. You folks elected the proper 3 to do the job, at 11,000, even if you double their wages, we're in really happy land. If they can catch up, be easy to go back now once you're caught up, wouldn't it?
These people that we currently have in there were hired on a temporary basis, and they came in on that.
Yeah, but if we could double their pay and keep them on a permanent basis, if they were functioning that well, sure be a lot cheaper than what's being discussed.
This is what the voters will be deciding on November 3rd, whether we should stay with the current system or...
I have one more question.
Yes.
How do they vote the opposite of that?
It's yes or no. I'm not sure.
There is a no on that, Kay?
Well, certainly. There is a law.
Careful.
We passed a local law that said we would go to sole assessor if the voters of the town pass it at mandatory referendum. So I presume on the ballot it will say yes or no.
Yes, you want a sole.
That's a presumption.
Well,
I get in the booth and it's not there. Who am I going to talk to? All right. It's a little late in the chain. I'm just
we are
thinking,
doing it according to...
because election happens to be November 3rd. It's not a long ways off here to work on this thing. We
are doing it according to the instructions that have been given to us regarding how to go about this process. And we had instruction from the Board of Elections, from Dave Hastings, and from the Association of Towns. I think I also talked to them. I think it'll be yes or no. That's the point of a referendum.
One other short question.
Yes.
Who brought up the fact of sole assessor and 4 people agreed to it and 1 didn't? How did that ever come about in the town?
That is the business of the town, and it was discussed at a past meeting.
Public meeting or private?
This has been discussed off and on for years, because there have been at least 2 previous referendums on this matter. So it's not a new idea. It's not something that someone...
It has been up for vote before.
Oh,
A lot of years ago.
Oh.
It was brought up with the other board also.
go back a lot of years.
Okay,
Right.
thank you.
It's been defeated twice.
Twice.
I ain't with it 2 years.
Morris?
I seen that.
Yes, sir.
Here, the eligible fund here.
Mr. Pavlovich, apparently, my understanding was, it's supposed to, the last board meeting we had here, we were supposed to get this.
I would ask for your patience on that. I know that Mr. Keeney had some information he was going to talk to. He had to find out some information, and as far as I know, it's still in his possession. I need to find out where we stand on that. I would please ask for your patience on that. It is a situation which would have been resolved, I think, by tonight if it had not been for the illness of Mr. Keeney.
We're on it.
Nancy, I just want to bring up a point, it's not county business, but I've been called by a number of people from the Anderson apartments and stuff like that. I know Jim and the board were involved last time of the roads being tore up and the narrow road in the wintertime. I know that's a private road. I know that there's whatever was done there. I guess I'm just asking the board at this point, I know they were one time working on that project, and I don't know where it was left off or what could happen, but there seems to be a lot of complaints, and if there's any possible way or anything we can do to even send a letter to the owners of these apartments and ask them to repair their road or something that's, I don't know if it's through an enforcement program or what, but one portion of that road is really in very bad shape.
We don't know.
I don't recall what could have happened before, Jim, unless, I know one time you were involved with it a year or so ago.
Well, it's a project that was put in there, and no one really established the site as for road egress. The road was built by the owner, and it's a boundary road between the mall people and the people that have the property where the houses are. It was brought up here, the town would have to, either someone's gonna have to invest to bring it up to standard the town has. And the town can do it if they want to take it.
It's just been a lot of people call, they think it's a town road.
That's the piece that runs off, what do they call it, Airport Road now?
But I guess my concern was, and I don't know the procedure here, but if a letter to the owners or somebody who owns those apartments, now there's 2 split owners there. Anderson Apartments at one end, and then you have the other ones.
If it would be a help, the zoning enforcement officer that has the power to say that the road isn't up to standard and to have it made up to standard so people get in and out for safety. That's just a part of his duty.
I think in the past what you did, Mr. Best, didn't you send a letter to the owners and they patch it up a little bit, but not much? And that's probably about all we can do also.
Well, public safety and health is your business, and what you do is you have your zoning enforcement officer go up and say, hey, look, this don't meet the standard, whatever they are, and that's the property owner to fix that.
I'm just bringing this comment up.
Right.
As I say, it's a concern, and I know people.
Nice. That road is adjoining the road, the town abandoned the road in 1972 on my side of the highway, and the property was donated to my land where the liquor store is. That other property actually belonged to the town road, was part of the airport. And I don't know how they got it into private ownership, but that was the original town road, the PFAT road that came down through there. You look on the old maps and you'll see the design of the highway. And I don't know if the town had to, through Tommy Johnson, because the road was down in the swamp, the town gave the property back to the landowners who donated the road on the west side of the highway. On the east side of the highway, as far as I know, the town should still be owning it and in control of it. And somebody should look into the deeds and check it out. But that road's been there since the day of the flood. That was the original roads that came down from North Bay and come over here.
All right. We will do some checking on this and see if it's something that we can put on an agenda for a later meeting. Anything else?
If there's nothing else, I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye. Well, that's a little contact with the owners, that's what Jim did.